Welcome to Obscura. Introduction equals where forgotten truths come alive. Today we uncover the shocking, bizarre sexual customs of the Roman Empire. From emperor orgies to sacred prostitution and taboos you won't believe existed. This is the raw, unfiltered side of ancient Rome they never taught in school. Roman society was obsessed with sex. In fact, it wasn't hidden. It was everywhere, on their art, walls, coins, statues, and even kitchen utensils. Phallic symbols were considered signs of luck, and people wore penis-shaped amulets to protect against evil. But behind this superstition was a deeply structured, often disturbing, sexual culture. Roman orgies weren't just wild parties. They were powerful displays of dominance, indulgence, and sometimes state-sponsored debauchery. At elite feasts, sex was part of the entertainment, with slaves, prostitutes, and performers engaging in public acts. The higher your status, the more you were expected to participate or watch. These weren't private. They were ritualized, sometimes religious. Sex wasn't taboo, it was public power. In some Roman provinces, particularly in areas influenced by older Eastern religions, sex was considered sacred. Temples dedicated to goddesses like Venus or Isis often had priestesses or temple prostitutes. Pilgrims believed having sex with them would bring fertility, fortune, or forgiveness. The line between worship and pleasure? It simply didn't exist. Priapus was a minor Roman god, but he had a major feature. He was the god of fertility and protection, always portrayed with an enormous, erect phallus. Statues of Priapus were placed in gardens and doorways, not as a joke, but to protect from evil spirits. Romans feared his curse, impotence, or sexual humiliation. So they honored him, often through rituals that modern minds would find shockingly graphic. In Rome, slavery and sex were tragically intertwined. Male and female slaves were used not only for labor, but for pleasure. Wealthy Romans had full control over their slaves' bodies. No law protected them. Brothels, called lupenaria, were often staffed by enslaved people. And for many elite men, having sex with slaves was simply a status symbol. If you think the Roman emperors were disciplined, you're in for a shock. Nero married a man twice. He also forced a young boy named Sporus to undergo castration, and then married him, claiming he looked like Nero's dead wife. Caligula, known for madness, allegedly slept with his sisters and forced senators' wives into public sex acts. And Elagabalus? He had male lovers, wore women's clothes, and asked doctors to turn him into a woman, one of the earliest recorded gender reassignment desires in history. In Roman politics, power and sex were often inseparable. Romans used sex as punishment. Adulterers could be stripped and paraded naked. Rapists could be executed or humiliated. Sometimes, male prisoners were raped as punishment, not for pleasure, but to assert dominance and dishonor. To the Romans, sexual shame was a weapon. Contrary to popular belief, Roman society was not sexually free. It had strict rules, especially for men. A Roman man could penetrate, but not be penetrated. Doing so would make him less of a man. Women, however, were judged harshly for being too active or visible in sexual behavior. Sex in Rome was about control, not consent. Even in death, the Romans didn't separate sex. Some tombs show erotic images. Soldiers carried carvings of lovers to war. Some even believed that sexual energy could guide the soul into the afterlife. Rome didn't hide sexuality. It embraced it, even in death. The Roman Empire was one of the most powerful civilizations in history. But behind its glory was a world of shocking, strange, and deeply human desires. Their sexual practices reveal a culture obsessed with power, gods, gender, and domination. Some of it is horrifying, some oddly familiar, but all of it is history. You've been watching Obscura, where truth is twisted and history is never clean. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more untold stories from the darkest corners of the past.